I have a few announcements to make first. The first one is that today we'll finish this particular chapter of Vimalakirti Sutra, and we will pause Vimalakirti Sutra for 1 week and resume it on the week after. So what are we going to do on the next week then? All the way from Monday to Thursday, we'll have 4 classes. For now, I think I will give teaching on the 7 points of mind training. Now I will give teaching whatever I want, because it's not like that people requested me to give them teachings, and maybe because you don't feel that I am doing a good job in teaching. So with my rather shamelessness, I am going to voluntarily teach the 7 points of mind training. I also asked them people, and they said that whatever you want to teach. Well, if that's the attitude, I can't really do much. So I think the 7 points of training the mind, I will use probably 2 classes. From the, if I give the teaching of this particular text just from the verses, then it would be easy. I remember back in 2005, I gave the teaching according to a commentary which was more extensive. Many of you probably know that this particular teaching is very popular. Many masters would give this teaching. And relying upon this mere 7 points, many people could be able to then tame their mind. So my primary choice, that is based on my own choice, is to give the teaching of 7 points of mind training for the first 2 classes. I think it's been over 10 years, and many people who listened to this class before, they probably already passed away to different Pure Lands, and maybe they went to different countries, and there are people who never heard of this teaching. So whatever it may be, I will use 2 classes to give the teaching of 7 points of training the mind. And then the next 2 days, the Wednesday and Thursday, I am still thinking what I want to teach, and I'm not certain yet. Maybe some teaching on Pamasambhava or others. I'm not quite sure yet. So I'll think about it, and just to make an announcement in advance, that is that I will give teaching all the way from Monday to Thursday. Another announcement is that I want to tell you about the prerequisites of listening to the Wednesday class, because there are some confusions. I think I've explained it very clearly, but many of you did not understand it. What I meant is that Posoka Rinpoche give the teaching in the United States, and that video recording takes about 100 minutes, and it has the English as well as Chinese text that's available. I will soon post it online. So for those of you who vow to listen or look or watch the video or read the text within 1 week of time from the day that I give the teaching, then you can attend my class. Posoka Rinpoche gave the teaching in Tibetan language, and it was then translated into English. The subtitle is in Chinese, so together it is 100 minutes. You can study it beforehand, or you can study it afterwards. So that's the prerequisites of listening to my class tomorrow. Ponsu Rinpoche have already left us for 16 years. In the West, people would use many different ways to then commemorate the lineage and the teachings of the master. After 10, 15, 20 years, they use different ways to commemorate their teacher by propagating the teaching of the teacher in various forms. So, by merely listening to this one teaching, knowing that back at that time, Ponsu Rinpoche and the group of us went to the West for 3 months of time. It's just a glimpse of what the teaching was. So I really hope that you could then use this either a short teaching or short stanza to commemorate Ponsu Rinpoche, so that you'll be able to then receive the blessings from Ponsu Rinpoche. So I will give a relevant teaching based on the teachings from Ponsu Rinpoche. And tomorrow we will also have the after-class discussion group. So for those of you who participate in the after-class discussion group, you should then prepare in advance. You don't necessarily have to read books, but it is the best to then understand. Because whenever I give teachings, I don't really have any books to prepare from. So I think this is a good preparation exercise for you. For people from different Sangha around different places, I hope that you could spend time to then study Ponsu Rinpoche's teaching. And maybe we will include Ponsu Rinpoche's teaching in the class section. Otherwise, if we only advocate for people to study, you probably don't listen to it. Therefore, we have to use some kind of measurements to push you to study it. And through such teachings, I think it's quite helpful for you to develop a faith towards Ponsu Rinpoche by seeing, by hearing, by being aware of him and knowing him. I know that it is not possible for those of you who never met him before to hear the voice from him directly, but at least from the technology that we have nowadays, we can still hear the teachings from him and his voice through the recordings, and the teachings, the message is the same anyways. Wember susur tokjang li dang semji jang li dang semji jang bada nepa me per susur tokjang karbu chujig ne mayon jong me per susur tokjang semji karab lang we yang togo zaba me ba susur tokjang kuri jin la long ra yang sheda jewa me ba susur tokjang semjin man yong ser member sha yu shir der jewa yang jerwa dag me ba susur tokjang jerwa jewa yang jer dag me per susur tokjang semjin nya ji jimbo man tor ma jewer susur tokjang yang tu ji ngi ba yang mar tong
속당 속당 냠보 메바당 더보 메바당 네 메버 소소 도장 소노 소노 소마에 이시 소마에 나바 용서 조그상 랑숑 이시즈 원크라당 랑숑 이시라 손바당 니비동 산제지 르그라당 네바 연데 르기와 데타위나 주라 모버 상주상관 디마시라 망네장 디시장 자버 머시도 르기와 잔양 상주상회 소놈지 초고 양도 버르비셔던 디마시라 망네 이시지 초고 양도 버르비셔던 디시 자버 양 머시도 잠바진보다 담비셔던 디마시라 망네 디마시라 망네소 냥지 젠보다 담베 셔런 디시 자버 양 머시도 샘제 용서 멈버셔던 디마시라 망네소 산지지 추남라 무비 시르드 디시 자바량 머시소 산지짐 산용소 조브르 제유시던 디마시야 모네소 탐심 김베이시 용서 조브르 제유시르던 디시 자바량 머시소 탈람 키비 시르던 디 마시라 마네소 시르기 신도 딱비 시르던 디시 자바량 머시도 산지지 용서 조브르 제유시던 디마시 magneso sanjib shinjib labi shirdan di she zabarayang ma she do san semchenji ton nyong shirdan di ma she layang magneso chuji ton yang dabar tambi shirdan di she zabarayang ma she do gewe tsawi tsoji shirdan di ma she layang magneso gewe tsawa wakchakji shirdan di she zabarayang ma she do mamba yang zur zobar she yu shirdan di ma she la magneso mamba mebe shirdan di she zabar ma she so samba yang zur zobar shirdan di ma she la magneso lakbi samba yang zur takbi shirdan di she zabarayang ma she ngombar jibar ngir nambar tsembi shirdan di ma she la magneso sanjiji yishim ngombar she ba zhigan di she zabar ma she do parar do shenbi tsuk yang zur gangwi shirdan di ma she la magneso 디마실라 마네소 티용서 조비 시르던 디제 자퍼 마셰도 추지 누르근 드비 시르던 디마실라 마네소 년세위 주 만도비 시르던 디제 자퍼 마셰도 추지만 근어 드비 시르던 디마실라 마네소 저리버 추지만 저리 시르던 디제 자퍼 마셰도 담자 담비 시르던 디마셰 마네소 담자 년비고도 쳬버 쉐위 시르던 디제 자퍼 마셰도 추지스 담자 추지스 담즙주비 시른 디마실라 마네소 인저터 추스르 총일만 조리 시르던 디제 자버 마셰도 대 뇽몽비 나 탐지 용스 시비 시르던 디마시 마네소 나 탐지 저르 셰유 시르던 디제 자버 마셰도 릭지베 테타위나 장주상화 디제 자버 마셰장 디마시 라 네버 마셰데 데는 장주상화 남디 남버 타리 자바도 무즈바지 샤오 기베 담바테도 그 체지죠 데서 좀버 지시 데네 장주상화 데더 담반도 투니 samjamgola yirangde rapto gani gawatang yirang yiddewa de jondande lam chopadang chobar jawadang janzu sanhwa dedagdang chujir namjang de lam chobar jawi shirda tongsumji tongjimbon jiktenji kamda tamchid shemadang budang dugba 망보 탐지담에 독 비몬 바잠데 케버시데 좀든데 진 코르 진고르다가 곰브르 브람베 브람브르시네 좀든데 지잘람 고고 자금자데 좀든데라랑 스무 코르네 쳇도 조정 데니 상지지 장데네 마르나버티르데 까지 이쯤 당지게 직된지 간포바 탐지지 저거 데른 코도 자바도 마자바 집샤 추지 종기 레거 스텝저 바고
I guess it's because it's been really warm in the last few days. I myself, and I think that you as well, look quite tired. So, what are we going to learn today? It's Vimalakirti Sutra, isn't it?
我们最近的话，
Well,
这样的啊，昨天我们前面已经讲了那个
yesterday, what we talked about was that
不尽有
it
为不
was
助为。
do not exhaust the
当时
conditions
那个相继
and
菩
do
萨
not
的
abide in the
相继世界的
unconditioned.
菩萨们要回
The
去的时候，
bodhisattvas
在佛陀
from
面前求法，
accumulation of fragrance
然后
Pure
佛陀就
Land,
说了两句
they
不
were
尽
about to leave the
不
Saha
尽有
world
为
and
不
requested
尽
the
有为
Buddha
呢，
to give
昨
them
天
some
我们已
teachings,
经
and the Buddha gave them these two
按照那
sentences
个
first,
我们
and that
先
was
引的
do not exhaust the
47
conditioned
种
and
法
do
嘛
not
已
abide
经
in the
讲了。
unconditioned.
然后当时那个唐译里面呢有这个55种法
We
啊，
then
唐译
studied
里
the
面有55
47
法
Dharma
然后那
teachings.
个智者大师呢，
According to the Xuanzang's
他
translation,
分
it
的
was
时候呢，就是
55.
40种法，
According to
可能
Master
有些地方
Chi,
比较
it
不
was
同。
44
不
kinds
管
of
怎么
Dharma
样呢，就是
teachings.
我们昨
Anyhow,
天也讲
doesn't
了
matter
这
how
个
it
无为
was
的这种善
categorized
根
or
不能破
counted,
坏，不
it,
然的话，
the gist of the
如果我
teaching
们
was
一直
that
用
we
一直
should
用，就是没有在这个
accumulate
散发的话呢，
merits
到一
instead
定的时候
of
全部用尽了
use
啊，
up
就是
our
就
merits.
全部都已经用完了，就是所以呢，我们这个修
The-
习正法的时候呢，就是世俗的善法，
We
啊
need
就
to
是千万不
practice
能
and we
放弃
need
啊，
to
就是心无放逸，不
then
是不善，这
accumulate
个已经
as
讲
well
了。
as do
那么
not
今天呢，就是第二个方面，就是因为这个
do
这
not
两句的话呢，
avoid any
在
of the
这
conditioned
个
dharmas.
佛陀最后解释的时候
Then the
呢，
next
就是第
one,
一个是不尽有为，就是讲了40多
the
种
first
法。
one was do
然
not
后呢，
exhaust
就
the
是不住无
conditioned.
为呢，就是
The
也
Buddha
讲了
taught
这
us
个
47 kinds of
大概
dharma,
我们
and
前
then
面呢
do
这
not
个
abide
有
in the
这个16种
unconditioned.
法吧，就是或
The
者是
Buddha
按
then
照这
taught
个唐译
16
的
kinds
话
of
呢，
dharma
就是大概
teachings.
有21
According
种法
to the
啊。
Xuanzang's
就
version,
今天我们这个
it
第二
was
层内容的
21
话
kinds
呢，就
of
是讲
dharma
了这么多。
teachings.
然后第三层内
That's
容
the
的话呢，
second tier
就
of the
是
teaching from the
这个
Buddha.
不尽有
And
为
then
和
the
不住无为
third
呢，
tier
有
was
双
that
层
do
双
not
性，这
exhaust
两
the
者呢，
conditioned
就
and do
就合
not
在一起的
abide in the
有接受啊，
unconditioned
就这个我们这
together.
个版本
So
呢，
that's
等
the
会儿可以
third
讲
tier.
有这个四
So
段，
over there,
有
there
四
were
段。那么其他
about 4
版本
parts
的
of
话呢，
it.
就里面有
And
15
in
15
other
版的，就是
editions,
这样
there
的。
were
那么
16
这样的
and
话呢，我们
different
现在呢，就是讲
categorizations
第
of
二
it.
层内容，
So
就
today
是
we're going to talk
这
about
个
the
不住无
second
为的
tier,
这个
which
道理
was
啊。
do
那
not
么
abide
何
in
谓
the
这个菩萨的不
unconditioned.
住无为呢？
How
下面
could
就
the
开始
bodhisattvas
讲了，
not
就是
to
第一
abide
个
in
呢，
the unconditioned?
就是
The
说
first one, it
这
is
个
that
为修学空啊，就是
it
归
is
于
to
空正，就是下面都开
then
始说这个
cultivate the emancipation of
三
empty
阶
without
三阶
taking
通
the
了嘛，
empty
三
as
阶
one's
通了呢，
realization.
我们经
Over
常讲
here,
的
it
这个
begins to talk
气
about
呢
the
就是
three
空性的、应无相
emancipation
的，
gates.
然后
The
呢，
first one,
就
it
过无
talks
厌
about
啊，
the
就是
entity is
无
empty,
动啊，
and
记得
the
咱们那版本什么版本呢？对，应该这样的。那么这个三阶陀门的话
and
呢，
then
就是这
the
个菩萨
characteristic
就是
is
是怎么样
signless, and
对这
the
个空性法门
fruition
的修持
is
呢？首先是他会
unconditioned.
这
So
个修
those
学
are
空
the
性，
three
空性一切
emancipation
万万
gates.
里没
So
有
the first
任
one
何
is
的
the
这种实
empty
体的，就是这样
without
的一种
taking
空性
empty
法。
as one's
但是这种
realization.
空性呢，
This
就
kind of
是不是
empty
这个声闻空，
is
或者我们实
not
践当中所谓的这个四大皆空啊，
voidness
就是一无
that
所有，
is
不是这
devoid
样
of
的。为这个
anything,
空为正，
devoid of
并
the
不是
four
这个
elements,
空
and
呢
not
就
the
作
kind
为
of
它的这
emptiness
个
of the
正我啊，
Shravakas and
以执着
Pratika
于这
Buddhas.
这是一种境界，
Do not
不是这样
then
的。
grasp
所以
onto
玩
emptiness
法的
as
这个
part
本体呢，
of the
虽然是
insights
空
and
性的，但
realization.
是
Yes,
这
the
个菩萨呢，就
entity
是
of
从来都是不会
phenomena
住在
are
这样的
empty,
空性
but
的
the
境界中，
bodhisattvas
就
would
是
not
入于这个
abide
涅槃
in
或者
such
是入
entity,
境，
such
不
kind
会
of
这样的。
nature.
然后第二个内容的话
The
呢，
second,
这个修学呢
it
就是
says
无
that
相
it is to
啊，就是
cultivate the
它这个
emancipation
无相
of
和无所放在一起，
signlessness
但是分
and
的时候呢，就是可以把这个无所
wishlessness,
和无
which
相
is
可
the
以分
third
开。
one.
那么
But
修学呢
over
就是
here,
是无
although
相，
it is
而不
then
以呢
written
这个
in
无
one
相
sentence,
这
we
个为
need
正
to then
啊，
separate it
意思
into
就是说
two,
呢，
because
就
the
是这
first one,
个
it talks about the
第二
characteristic
种
is
法呢，那么
signless.
这个菩萨学修的
When
时候呢，实
bodhisattvas,
际上是
through their
这个应
studying
无相，
and
因为一
through
切万
their
法的这个
practice,
因
they
呢，
should
就是
know
实际
that
上
the
是
cause
思想也
is
好，空相也好，
signless,
就
is
是所有的这
devoid
个
of
本体呢，就是
character.
什么？你的手机里面放的当
Your
歌是吧？
cell phone plays a love song, isn't it?
谁的
Who was it?
没
You
有关
didn't
机是吧？
turn off your phone?
好，关
Turn
机
it
啊
off,
好
okay?
不然
Or
我们
we
全部
will
的
be
人专注
listening
到你
to
的这个
this beautiful song
就
instead of
虽然是无响，但是呢
the
你的像出来的
the
是
teaching although it
包括
is
降的
signlessness,
不行了。
but when such signs
那
and
么就是学无
characteristics
相，
appears,
学
it
无
is
相是这样
still
的。
quite
然后呢，
attractive.
就是它并不是这个不像这个圆觉声闻圆觉
When
一
the
样，
sign
注意一种
appears,
这个无相的这个状态当中，不是这样的。应该
when we talk
虽
about
然
the
它通达的
signlessness,
这个学
it
的
is
这个
not
无相
that
就是本体无相
Pratika Buddha
但是
and
呢
the
不是以
Shravakas
这
would
个
abide in
无相
such
就是作
signlessness,
为这个
but
它的这个
they
正我
do,
就是最
but
终
the
的话呢，
Bodhisattvas
就
would
是
not
也是如果是无相作为一
grasp
个
onto
这
signlessness.
个正悟来这个执着
They
的
do
话，
not
那
grasp it
就
as
这也
part
是
of
一种相
realization, because
就
as
像金
long
刚
as
经
you
里面讲
grasp
的
onto
凡所欲
anything
相皆是
as
虚
a
妄。那
realization, it
这
is
种
also
相呢也是
grasping
虚妄。
on,
那虚妄是不是
on
存
a
在的？
sign.
虚妄也是不可存在的。所以呢，这也是不可
You
能
cannot
做
say
到
that
的。那么
avoidness
第三个
exists
法呢？
because
第三个
grasping
法
on
呢，就是
avoidness
那
is
么就是
also
菩
a
萨
sign.
这个修学无
The
作
third
啊，
one
就是修
says
学无作。
it's
无作的话呢，
then
就也
cultivate
就是说这
wishlessness.
个过无愿啊，
Wishlessness,
就是因
it
为
talks about
我
the
们一般呢就是
fruition
对
is
这个
then devoid
将来
of
就是获得的如何
the
的这个
conditions
果报
or
啊、福慧啊，
fruitions.
当然就是这方
When we
面就
talk
有
about
一定的
how
这种这
to
个愿望，对吧？
When we
就是
talk
有
about
有一种
fruition,
的
we
这种誓
often
愿，但是
have
这
a
种誓
wish
愿
to
呢，实
attain
际上
some
也
fruition.
是无所可得
But
的啊，就无所可
when
得
it
的。
comes to
所以菩
fruition,
萨
in
呢，
fact,
就是
the
并不是以
Bodhisattvas
无作呢，
realize
就
that
是作
there
为
is
这个
really
正
nothing
悟
to
啊，就是以
attain.
无愿呢，就是作为一种正
So
悟，因为他
such
真正的得到这
wishlessness
个
is
过的
a
时候
kind
呢，
of
就
a
是对这个
realization
过呢，就是毫无
because
这
they
个
have
希求
no
啊，
wish,
就是毫无这
they
个
no
希
longer
求
have
的，没
any
有任
wish
何
or hope for
所得的这
fruition.
种
They no
相
longer
啊，这样的话
then
呢，
grasp
那么就
onto
是这
any
叫做什么呢？
signs.
这叫做是这个
So
三界同门
this
啊。
three
我们
talks
仁波
about
切
the
在
three. These
这支
three
入门
are
当
the
中的
three
话呢，就是
emancipation
有些
gates.
加上这个四界
According to
同门，
Mipa
也就
Rinpoche,
是说再
he
加上
talked
一个
about the
这个光
four
明无为法的这个
emancipation
界同
gates.
门，
He
就是
said
也有这
he
样的
talked
这种
about
这
the
个
unconditioned
分
dharma
法
that
啊，
is
也有这样的案例法。
luminous.
不管怎么样呢，就是以上这个这
Which is the
三种
fourth
法呢，
emancipation
实际上
gates.
是表面上看到好像是
Anyhow,
菩萨
the
级
first
确实是已经
three
证悟了这些，
talked about,
但是呢，
it
实际
seems
上
that
是
the
并不
Bodhisattvas
是
have
证悟
already
在这样的一
realized
个空相，或者说
all
无
of
作
these,
相，或者
but
说是无相
they
相
do not
这样
abide
当中呢，
in
就
the empty
是
or
不
signless
会
or,
住在
or
一
in
种
sign or
相种当中。
wishlessness.
那么第四个法呢，就是修学无
The
起
fourth
啊，
one
就是
is that it
而
is
不
to
以这
cultivate
个无起为正，
non-activation
也就是
without
说
taking
这个菩萨呢
activation as
就
one's
是他修学
realization.
的什么呢？就是无起
The
啊，这无起
Bodhisattvas,
的话
they
呢，
do
就像
not
佛经里面
cultivate
做这样的样，诸法
non-activation.
因缘生，诸法因缘灭吧。
In
但是
the
这个
Sutra,
因
it
缘灭
talks
呢，
about
一块
every
因缘已经灭了
dharma
的话呢，
arises
诸法就
based
无起，
on
就是
causes
一
and
切诸法都是
conditions.
不可能就是不可能就是期限，就是不可能就是出现。
Without
那么菩
causes
萨
and
呢，虽然
conditions,
修
then
学
there's
这样
no
的这个
dharma
诸法
that
这
could
个
then
缘生
activate
缘
or
灭的
arise.
这个道理，
The
但是他
Bodhisattvas
呢，就是不
already
会注
then
意什么呢？就是不是
understood
以这个
the
无起呢，就是作为这
non-activation
个
or,
以自己的
or
这个正悟，
non
就是菩萨
birth
不会安住在这个
of
无
all
因无缘的
phenomena,
一种
but
这
they
个
do
观
not
空寂灭
abide in
这样的
the
境界当中，啊，就也是
extinction
绝不会
that
所
is
以不
devoid
以这个
of
无起
cause
为
and
正。
condition.
那么第五个法呢，就
The
是
fifth
下面
one
的
it
话，
says that it
下面
is
呢
to
就是说我们
contemplate
这个
impermanence
常乐无
without
尽的这
having
个
aversion for
对
roots
峙
of
啊，就
goodness.
也就是
In
说
fact, from
这个
here
无常
it
啊，
talks
然后
about
苦啊，
the
空啊
impermanence,
无啊，
bliss,
就是下面这个
the
就
solid
是分析
existence
这
of
个。
self, and
那么首先就是也就是说
purity
第五个法呢，
of
就是讲
and
这个
purity.
关
So
于
there's
无常
four
这个
wrong
不言
views.
善
The
本
first one
如
it
果
says that to contemplate
如果是
impermanence
像那个
without
小
having
乘
aversion
或
for
者
the
说
roots
是
of
这个实践
goodness.
人的话呢，他就惯了这
Shravakas
个
or
无常
Hinayana
啊，就一切万
practitioners,
法呢，
once
就是擦啦
they
擦啦，
contemplate and
会灭
once they
就是无有这个
realize
恒常性
the
的
all
就
the
一切都
phenomena
是无常的，
is
就像我们现
impermanent,
在
they
的
are
这个春
moment,
夏秋冬也好，就是
they change
各种
moment
这
to
个
moment, just
这
as
个
how the four
就因
seasons
因缘的这
changes
种
of
这个
moment to
破灭啊，
moment,
就
and
是就知
the
道了这
causes
一
and
切万法是
condition
无常的
changes
话呢，
moment to
那么就
moment.
是他们呢
Once they
就是也会
understood that
对
everything
整个
changes
这个
from
万法
moment to
呢
moment,
产
and
生
then
一个非
they
常大的
would
厌离性，然后呢
start
不
have this aversion arise in their mind. It happens happens to people nowadays. Once they understood that, oh, everything is impermanent, there's no need for exertion, there's no need to do anything about it. But for bodhisattvas, they're not like that at all. Although they would then contemplate on the inner impermanence and outer impermanence, they would then contemplate on impermanence, and then they would still accumulate all the good roots, virtuous roots and merits. They do not have any kind of aversion, and they do not feel tired from accumulate the virtuous roots. Dapoa said that as long as we can, when we then have the mind of impermanence, when we give rise to the realization of impermanence, then it is like someone dangerously wounded by an arrow, and it appears to that person that there is no time to waste. So that's the beginning sign, and in the middle, the sign is that you could become really focused, just like you should meditate on death without thinking of anything else, like a mother whose only child has died. For people who practice really extensively and very well on impermanence, they practice very focused. And then at the end, the person who realizes impermanence would know that there is nothing left to do, just like a shepherd whose flocks of yaks have been driven away by his enemy. Maybe because lots of people do not know how it feels, because you've never heard yaks or cows. But I myself, this is a very good metaphor. It was once that I was herding the yaks and cattle, and then I lost all the yaks. I couldn't find them, and I was stunned and didn't know what to do. Of course, at that time I was too young, and I didn't know the realization of Ati. I was not aware of that, but I think maybe that was the moment of realizing Ati. In the Vajrayana teaching or in lots of practices, it is that you do not abide in anything, but mind arises. So when bodhisattvas attained the realization of impermanence, they still do not have aversion for accumulating roots of goodness. When people hear about impermanence, it seems that they do not feel interested in good or bad anymore. All they can think of is that, well, this is impermanence, then what's the meaning of it? They may feel quite a despair because of impermanence, and they feel impermanence is bad news. But that's not true. It is because of impermanence, then you should put all your exertion into practice in virtuous actions and accumulate merits. That's what you should do, to then invest your time into practice. Over here, it is to contemplate. The word contemplate, sometimes it means contemplation or to practice, or the other hand, it could mean realization. That's how in Tibetan language, as well as the Chinese language, it has the subcontext of realization as well, instead of only contemplation. It also means to realize, to understand completely. And it has also the meaning of contemplation, to think, to practice upon. The sixth one is to contemplate worldly suffering without being tired of samsara. When sentient beings seeing all the sufferings that happens in the world, the suffering of change, and so on, all of those kind of suffering, then people could then simply have this mind of wanting to get into extinction.
是谁啊？有一个，我想想，这样的。
When they see that there's afflictions and suffering, this samsara, then they have great aversion in this saha world, in this degenerated world, in this world that's full of defilement. All they want to do is to enter into distinction of affliction and suffering. However, bodhisattvas are completely not like those Hinayana practitioners. The more they see that sentient beings are suffering, the more they have the intention to help the sentient beings, to alleviate the suffering of all the sentient beings. So that's the mind of bodhisattva. They're so courageous. Do bodhisattvas have suffering and pain as well? Yes, before they attain complete realization or Buddhahood, they will suffer as well. But they have no fear to face such suffering at all. They're really courageous, and they would be tirelessly enter into samsara to benefit sentient beings. The seventh one talks about no self. It is to contemplate no self while teaching people without tiring. The Shravakas and Pratika Buddhas, after they contemplate non-self, or after they realize non-self, they will not continuously to teach others. They realize non-self, and then they enter into the emptiness of non-self, and then enter into the samadhi of extinction. But bodhisattvas, once they realize non-self, the bodhisattvas would continuously and tirelessly to teach the people, to teach the sentient beings, to benefit them. After realized this emptiness of non-self, emptiness of self, then there is no more fear, because in our world, the fear and the suffering comes from self-grasping. According to Sutra of Heap of Jewels, it says that in the truth of emptiness there is no fear, neither is there the sinking into samsara. Being attached to the characteristic of self and phenomena results in fear and sinking samsara. The sentient beings in samsara, they would feel fear, they would retrogress, they have all kinds of afflictions and suffering. Why? It is because that they have great grasping towards self. Once you break this solid self, once the sentient beings feel that others are threatening this solid grasping towards self, they feel fear. But the bodhisattvas, they continuously, constantly preach the Dharma without fear and without tiredness. In other translation edition, where it says that it is to contemplate no self without then giving up the self. Unlike how the Shravakas and Pratika Buddhas, they would give up this flesh body. The Shravakas and Pratika Buddhas, they would then humiliate, they would view this body as impure, they would then purposely ignore this body. But the bodhisattvas are not like that. Bodhisattvas would use this dream and illusion-like body and liberate the dream and illusion-like sentient beings. So, according to different translations, there's different explanations as well. The eighth one, it is to contemplate extinction without undergoing or pursuing permanent extinction.
然后第8个法呢，就是诸
eighth
法
one
就是就一般那个就其他称的话呢，就是对
different
这个
yanas,
诸法这个激进
they
就是
pursue the
击灭的这种法呢，就是
permanent
最后
extinction.
入于一种这个击灭
They
的状态
pursue
当中，
permanent
他得到这
peace.
种境界
And
之后
after
呢
they attain
就
this
永远
permanent
不会那个
extinction,
就是
after they
一直呢
attain
就
such
很长时间多
state,
少个界当中呢，
then
就是
they
入
will
于这种
continuously to
灭地当
abide
中，
in
就是灭地
this
当中。
state
但
for
是菩萨呢，就是
kalpas,
观了这
for
个万法
eons
这个
even.
寂灭空
But
性，就是远离一切细论
when
的
the
时候呢，
bodhisattva
他不会呢，就是住在这样的这种境界当中啊，
they
就是他一定呢，就
contemplate
是入于这种寂灭，
extinction,
他得到了
they
这种如
receive
定的
such
智慧。
realization
同
of
时的话呢，
this
就是他
samadhi of
如定与
extinction,
初等呢，
yet
初地呢，就是也是无二无别的
they
方式来
would
利
benefit sentient beings
所以我们
in
这
the post meditation
这
or
些内
post
容当中的话
samadhi
呢，
of this
一直是
extinction
降到就是
in
作
the
为
way
这个
that
菩萨
is
呢，
it
他
is
有
a
很高的
non-dual
这种
between
境界，
samadhi
但是
and
这种
post samadhi.
高的境界呢，就是为利有，就是一直安住在一个他的特别殊胜的处世间的不可思议
They
的
would
状
then
态当中，
abide
就是让
in
他
this.
抑制不出来，
They
不
would
是这
not
样的。
abide
应该
in the
就是
extinction
还
that
有
is
很多
beyond
的这个
thinking.
受苦的受难的，
Rather,
老母有
they
情
know
这
that
个
there are
就
so
芸芸众生
many,
啊，
so
就是
many
是
sentient
带有
beings
这个
who
他
are
的
like
这个
their,
度化
who
的，
are
所以
the
菩萨
old
呢，就是
mothers
一般都
of
是
theirs,
也不忍
and
心，就是什
they
么呢？就是
do
自己
not
独自呢，就是一直是享受一种
have
大的
the
就是寂灭啊，就是他不愿
they
意
do
这样。
not want
所以
to
作为大
enjoy
乘
the
菩萨的
bliss
话呢，
for
他
themselves and
愿意呢，
abandon
就
all the
是在众
sentient
生界
beings.
当中呢，就是感受痛苦，而不愿意呢，
They'd
就是独自
rather
一人就是
stay
享
in the
受这个
samsara and
无量的这种
suffer
处世
with
间的
the
禅定
sentient
的美味
beings
啊，
to
就是他不
liberate
愿意
them
这样，所以。
than
他
enjoying
是
the bliss of
就是这
extinction
样
for
这
themselves.
是第8个法，就是第9
That's
个
the
法呢，
eighth
就是
one.
关
And the
于
ninth
愿
one talks
而
about
身
it is
心
to
求善。
contemplate transcendence
那么
while
一般这个其他
cultivating
称
the
的话呢，
good
就是那
with
么
mind and
对
body.
这个万法呢，
In
就是
other
碰到了这
yanas,
个本空的
once
这
the
种境界的时候
practitioner
呢，那么身心呢
realized
就是不一
the
定修善，就是
transcendence,
入于一种这个境界
they
当中。
would then
而菩萨
abide
并
in
不
such
是这样，
transcendence
菩萨呢
without
就是
cultivating
对
any
这个
more
一切
good
法呢
with the
就是
mind and
通达，
body.
就是
But
就是
bodhisattvas
愿
are
力，
not
他
like
这里
that
愿
at
力的话
all.
呢，就是一切都是
What they
本
would
空，就
do
是就像我们前面讲的一样
is
的
that
就像这个就是不管是这个身体
they
也好，
would
心
use
也
their
好，法
mind
也
and
好，
body and
还有那
dharma,
个就是感
their
受也好
senses,
就是四念
the
处当中
four
的这
kinds
些法的
of
话，那就是他完全已经
mindfulness.
碰到了这个愿力就是愿力。或者说是有些注释当中讲的什么就是所谓的这个欲
Or
望
according to
烦恼
other
还有
sutras,
这
it
个本
talks
性
about
这
the
些都是已经
desire,
碰
the
到了这个空
afflictions,
性。
and
那碰到空性之
all
后
of
呢，
those.
还有什么呢？
In fact,
还
the
有在我们
bodhisattvas
实践当
already
中的
then
话呢，
realized
他
that
这
the
个身体和
emptiness
心呢
nature
一
of
直不
those,
断的这个
and
行
then
持善法
continuously
就是
to
行持善
practice
法。所以菩萨
good
一般都
or
是
virtuous deeds
这
with
个
their
虽然
mind and
见解
body.
很高，就是
So
他完全
bodhisattvas,
碰到这个
they
一切
attained
一切万
really
法
high
就是
realization.
无生无
They
灭的
attained
这
the
种
realization
境
of
界。
no birth
但
and
是
no
在
death of
众
all
生当中
phenomena.
也好，在我们
But
这个
in
轮回
their
当中的话呢，还要这个实
but
现什么呢？
they
就是
would
经
still
常这个
manifest
身心都是修持
in
善法
our
比如说
samsara
身体呢
in front of the
什么
sentient
这个磕
beings
头也好然后
as
这个转佛塔也好，或
a
者说
way
印
that
尼也
they're
好，
still
做供养也好
accumulating
等等，这个
virtuous
也会做。
deeds,
那么
such as
心里面的话呢，就是
prostrating,
经
such
常
as
这个禅定
circumambulate,
啊
such
观
as
佛
chanting
啊
mantras,
然
such
后
as
这个祈
and
祷
then
啊，这个
practice
等等就是这样的。
meditation
语言的
and
话呢，就是也同
such
样的
as
什么这个念
supplication,
咒啊、
such as
念经啊、
chanting,
宣
such
说佛
as
法啊
give
等
teaching
等，
of
就
the
是
Dharma.
所以这个
So
身语
their
的话呢，
body,
就是一
mind,
直
and
是不会
speech
不会
would
间断，就是行持
continuously
善
to
法
practice
就
the
是行持
virtuous
善法。
deeds.
那么第
The
10
10th
个
one
法呢就是这是第10个法呢就是观悟就是
It is
宿
to
贵
contemplate the
而
absence
贵呢
of any
就是去
refuge
善法，意思
while
就是
going
说
for
呢
refuge in the
就是
Dharma of
这个菩萨
goodness,
就是他
which means the bodhisattvas
他对那个所有的一切法那就是无所贵就是无所这个无所住也可以，无所贵，
They
有些里面就是藏文当
do
中无
not
所住无
abide
所住，或者说是无
or
所
they do not
无所去处吧，
then
就是有些版
or
本里面就
there's
是
the
讲这个
absence
诸法无所
of
去处，他已
any
经完全
direction
通到
or
了一切万
absence
法呢，就
of
是
any
本来都是不胜的就是然后中间也是
any
无所
refuge
最后也
place.
是无所贵的，
So So at first there's no place to start and there's no place to abide, there's no place to go. while they still going for the refuge in the Dharma of goodness. That means that they understood that there's no going and no coming, yet they still then practice good dharmas or virtuous dharmas, the 10 virtuous dharma, or uphold the Prati-voksha vows and the Bodhisattva vows, and practice virtuous deeds in this world. During our study of this teaching, I really want to encourage you to remember what Padmasambhava said. He said that doesn't matter how high your view is, your action, the way that you choose to practice or carry out your action should be as fine as a flower. So Bodhisattvas, they've already attained the understanding of no coming and no going, no good and no bad. But their practice is also going for the good dharma. There are people who then only talk about no coming, no going, no good and no bad, but their realization and their actions are really not there yet. There are people who do not have any faith, and they would talk about that, talk like that. That's understandable because they don't know. But there are people who then have faith, yet they still talk and act like that. Then that is really already past the line. You've already crossed the line, and you should feel really ashamed of it if that's what you do. So what you should do is that your view should be high and your actions should be just as the previous masters, or at least as the normal people in this world, to be very careful about your actions and the consequences of your actions. Bodhisattva, when he came to Tibet, he taught on how to then discriminate from right and wrong in terms of the actions. Lots of masters in the past and now their realization have already passed what we can imagine, but their actions are still very, very careful. The next one is to contemplate the birthless, yet to bear the burden of all sentient beings using the Dharma of birth. The Bodhisattvas, they've already know that all the phenomena is birthless. It is emptiness. It is not born at all. But they do not stop there and do not do anything about it. Not only that, they would bear the burden of benefit all sentient beings use the Dharma of birth. As what we said yesterday, what is the Bodhisattva's main responsibility? The responsibility is to then bear the burden for all sentient beings, the burden of the sweet burden of sentient beings, or carry out such responsibility. According to ornaments of the Mahayana Sutras, it is asked that for those who are the highest of beings, carrying on their heads the great burden of sentient beings, it is not right, and it is quite shameful to travel leisurely for such bodhisattvas, since they and other beings are fettered by all kinds of bonds. Their diligence should be multiplied 100 times. So the bodhisattvas, in order to benefit the sentient beings who are still being in the fetters of samsara, they should be very diligent. Many people who studied the ornament of the Mahayana Sutra, you probably feel very similar. You probably have some kind of insights about this. If you have already give rise to bodhicitta and study Mahayana Sutra. If you're very lazy and if you still have lots of afflictions and not practice, then it is quite shameful.
但是作为我们方富人来讲是，这是特别值得的事情。但有些地方的话呢，
we cannot match up to the bodhisattvas such as Vimalakirti or Manjushri, but at least what we should not do is to avoid the kind of actions such as flattering or frivolous language and slandering language to create chaos behind other people's back and so on. This time, in the past few weeks, when I went out to different places, I told the sanghas over there, I said that if you do not get along with each other within sangha, then I won't come and give you teachings anymore. As mundane beings, of course we have afflictions. That's normal. But if what we do all day long is only talking about other people's faults and complaining about others, so that is really not reasonable as a person who've already tread on the path of Mahayana. My aspiration, I made a vow that for places, for people in different places, if they don't get along with each other within the sangha, then I won't visit them anymore because I feel really tired. I have to then be very mindful of what this person feels about the others and so on, and I have to be very mindful about each and everyone's expressions. It's very tiring. Maybe the people over there, they feel that it is better that I don't visit them, so maybe that's what I will do to fulfill their wishes. 100 yojanas far from you, maybe that's better.
对，所以呢，就是要去的话，那就是离他们100有限
So even if I go, I will go to the city, but still 100 yojanas away from those people who quarrel within the sangha, and then I'll leave that place after. Anyhow. Do not then complain and whine and blame others. If you've vowed to or aspired to serve the sangha, at first you may have really good intention, but there are things that happens without your expectation. But even that happens, do not then create disharmony within the group, and do not make evil aspirations within your mind. I've never forced anyone to serve the sangha. It is the best for you to make aspiration and then fulfill your aspiration. But if you can't, you can disappear. And many people disappear within a group all the time, so you can do that. In lots of the sangha, people do not talk about practice, do not talk about benefiting sentient beings. All they talk about is blaming others. They only see the sangha group as their own platform. They take it as their own, and then that creates lots of problems. I am not a bodhisattva, but I've then at least making such a vow of being a bodhisattva. So I think we should then contemplate upon this, that you've all made a vow to arise to bodhicitta and benefit sentient beings, this bodhisattva vow. So try to practice the meaningful actions to create a harmony and to create benefits among the group and for one another. The 12th one is to contemplate the flawless or the flawless yet not eliminate the flaws.
就是无漏法，就是不会有这个贪执的，不会有漏的这种。
The bodhisattvas they contemplate the dharmas that is devoid of all the defilement, yet they do not eliminate the defilements, because it is very difficult to liberate and help sentient beings without defilement at all. According to the commentary of Vimalakirti Sutra, it says that the bodhisattvas already understood that all the dharma is non-defiled, is devoid of all defilement, yet they would manifest in a way that they have defilement to tame the sentient beings. So the bodhisattvas, they've already realized the flawlessness of dharma, but they would manifest in the way that they have anger, they have afflictions and defilements, so that they can tame the sentient beings, and to understand it in such a way it is reasonable. The 13th one, it is to contemplate the absence of any practice, yet to teach sentient beings using the dharma of practice. They've already then realized the level or attained the level of absence of any practice, of no action. But they would still teach sentient beings to use the dharma of practice. So for people who want to liberate and help the sentient beings, at first you should at least understand emptiness. You should have some kind of realization of emptiness. Even if without a complete realization, at least you should have some, at least you should have a firm understanding of the correct view through Madhyamika, such as stated in Madhyamika Vatara. And then when you see sentient beings who experience limitless suffering through the five skandhas, the bodhisattvas will be able to use such dharma to teach them with the dharma of practice. The 14th one is to contemplate emptiness and non-existence, yet not to forsake great compassion. They've already understand the non-existence and emptiness, the bodhisattvas. However, when they see that sentient beings are still dwelling in the samsara of suffering, then they could not forsake all these sentient beings who are suffering because of their great compassion. According to treatise of a courageous man, it says that by hearing the myriads of suffering in this world, even a stone, even a rock would be melted. How could people with heart not generate the mind of compassion? So bodhisattvas,
就是有心者怎么会是不生悲呢？就是他对这个就看到这个事件当中真的很多的
when they see the sentient beings suffering,
不知道就是你真正去了解，真正去试下，就是去了解
especially when they get to know
有各种一个人的这种痛苦
each
的话
and
呢，
every
可
sentient
能
being's
非常非
suffering,
常多的。就是我们
which
不了解的
are
时候呢，看到哇，这个人
numerous.
穿的衣服很好看呐，就是哇，
Yes,
这个
on
人
the surface,
这个
we
开着
can
车
say
特
that,
别
oh,
特别
this
好
person
啊，这个
dressed
人呢
really nice,
生意做得
or
特
the
别
other
成
person
功，
dressed
是
such
官
a
儿当得
luxurious
还不错
car,
的，应该是
and
非常
oh,
快
the
乐
other
的。
person,
表面上你
he
看不
runs
出来，然
such
后
a
跟他接
successful
触一段时间的时候
corporation.
呢，哇，就是不是你这个表面上看的，其实他的
Everything looks
内
really
心当
beautiful
中
on the
就有很多
surface,
很多的
but
痛苦啊，就是
inside,
这个
deep
时候呢
down,
才知道
each
啊，
and
原来
every
呢，这个
sentient
是
being
我们终
suffers
身的这个痛
tremendously.
苦呢，还是这个无量无边的。这个
And
时候
at that
可能
time,
会啊，就是你自己就稍微对那个
you
佛教的这
will
个
be
空
able
性啊，就
to
这些有所认
then
识的时候呢，很想就是度他们，
try to
很想
help
呢，就
them,
是
especially
就
when you
让
have
他也
some
是就是干
understanding of emptiness from the Dharma teachings, and you really wish genuinely for their happiness. There are people who are like that. Just as yesterday when we said we need to then practice profoundly and practice the Dharma, study the Dharma in depth, and cultivate good qualities. For such kind of people, their practice will become increasingly excellent, and for such kind of people, they will increasingly cultivate their strength and skillful means in helping sentient beings. The 15th one, it says that it is to contemplate the position of correct Dharma, yet not to follow Hinayana. The Bodhisattvas, they've already realized that no birth and no self, but they will not then follow the Hinayana. They will not then fall into the fruition of extinction. The 16th, it is to contemplate the empty falsity. Well, in fact, this one is a bit different. It is to contemplate the empty falsity of Dharma, which are without solidity, without selfhood, without subject, and without characteristic. It is not to consider merit, meditation, and wisdom to be in vain when one's original vow has been fulfilled. And practice a Dharma such as this, one is called the Bodhisattva who does not abide in the unconditioned. So first of all, you have to know that the Dharma, or the Bodhisattvas know that the Dharma is empty falsity, doesn't have any intrinsic existence, which are without solidity, without selfhood, without subject, and without characteristic. And this kind of teachings, before the Bodhisattvas fulfill their original vow, they will not then stop practicing merit, meditation, and wisdom, and not consider those practices as being in vain. According to this is Kumarjiva's translation, and according to different editions, it is rather a bit different. The other editions, they talk about the solidity, without solidity, without selfhood, without subject, and without characteristic, are rather very similar in different translations and editions. But the later part, when it talks about consider merit, meditation, wisdom, not consider such to be in vain. In fact, in Tibetan translation as well as in a few different translations, it talks about how the perfect contemplation as well as natural wisdom and empowerment to receive natural empowerment to receive natural wisdom and abide in the Buddha nature or the Buddha family is in addition to the previous three. Different editions have different explanations. So for those of you who don't quite understand, you could then look into the Xuanzang's version of translation as well as the Sanskrit version. It is a bit different. So this one is a bit different than the Xuanzang's version. Xuanzang's version is very similar to the Tibetan translation, and you could look into it as a reference later on. The next one, it then talks about do not exhaust the conditioned and do not abide in the unconditioned. It is the combination of both.
那么这个呢，我们这里是就是这样的
Over
四段，
here in the Kumarjiva's translation, it has 4 parts. The first one, it talks about in order to complete merit, one should not abide in the unconditioned, and the second one is that in order to be complete in wisdom, one should not exhaust the conditioned. So in order to complete merit, one should not abide in the unconditioned, because once you abide in the unconditioned, then there is no way to accumulate merit. Just as it is said that because of compassion, one do not abide in the 3 existence, one do not abide in the nirvana.
就是在三有当中不住了，是吧？就是这个意思，就是所以不住无畏，就是因为具福德或者是方便的缘故不住无畏。然而具智慧的缘故，因为它具有这个智慧质量的缘故，
In order to complete in wisdom, one should not exhaust the conditioned.
那就是这个智慧呢，
As it says that because of wisdom, one do not abide in the 3 existence.
不具足这个智慧的话呢，
One who do not have complete wisdom, then one would be quite fearful of the phenomena which is in nature, dream, and illusion-like. Usually, 不是这么讲的吧？可能是因为具福德的缘故呢，就是不住这个 talk about it in such a way.
可能这样介绍好一点，但是这个他的提法就是这样的，这是一个。然后第二段的话呢，我们先按照他的
The
这个
second
介绍方
part,
法
I
来介
will
绍。
explain it according to Kumarjiva, and later I will explain
大
to
慈悲
you
故呢，就是不住
why
无畏，就是
it
它
is
只有这个
different.
大慈和
So
大悲
in
的
order
缘
to
故啊，
achieve the
就是
greater
对
sympathy
只有
and
大慈大悲的
compassion,
缘
one
故
should
呢，
not
就是不
abide
住
in
这
the
个无畏。
unconditioned.
然后
In order
慢
to
这个
fulfill
悲
one's
缘故
original
呢，
vow,
他要
one
这个
should
圆满就是自己的这个
not
发愿
exhaust the
终身的这
conditioned.
个发愿的缘故呢，就是不尽于畏啊，就不尽于畏，就是这是第二
That's the
个，
second
可
one.
以这么讲。然后那个就是
The
刚才
previous
前面
one,
的这个第一段的话呢，就是主要是
it's
自理方面讲的。
when
然后
it
后
talks
面的
about
这三
merits
段
and
呢，就是
wisdom, it
他理
talks
方面
about
讲的。
benefiting
那
self,
这样的
and the
话，
second part
第
it
三
talks
段呢
about， benefiting
就是
others.
说既法要
And
不
then
住无为，也就是说他要那个求法，就是召集这
it
个法的
talks about in order to No, the previous one, including the merit, wisdom, compassion, and original vow, talks about benefiting self, and then the second part talks about benefiting others. In order to accumulate the medicine of the Dharma, one should not abide in the unconditioned. In order to bestow medicines according to the needs of sentient beings, one need not to exhaust the condition. Because if you exhausted the condition, how could you pass the teachings to the sentient beings who needs it? That's the third one. And then the fourth one talks about in order to extinguish the illness of sentient beings, one should not exhaust the condition. The sentient beings' illness of afflictions should be cured by the medicine of the Dharma. So the Bodhisattva has to then not exhaust the conditioned. Otherwise, how could the doctor cure the patients?
要灭众生病故，就是如果要灭众生的病的话，那就是那看每一个众生的这个相续要观察。
If you need to extinguish the illness of sentient beings, you should not exhaust the conditions, the conditioned, and in order to understand the illness of sentient beings, you should not abide in the unconditioned, because if you abide in the unconditioned, you won't be able to understand the illness of sentient beings.
刚才不是这个后面的这个双性的话，那就是有四段，就是四段。
The Kumarjiva's translation has 4 aspects, but according to Qianlong Emperor's Tripitaka, it has in fact 17 pairs of stanzas.
所以这个呢，就是我刚才讲的是有点乱，
So
你们到时候跟这个
I think it is the best for you to then read according to the Qianlong Emperor's edition of Tripitaka. Right now, the version that is translated into English as well as the one that is used in Chinese version is according to Taisho Tripitaka. 好像刚才那个背不住什么
大慈悲住过不住无为，就是这个地方呢
all the way
还是
from
跟依法有点
the
不同，就是有一大
in
段。
order
然后
to
呢，就
achieve
是它
greater
那个
sympathy
启
of
发要
compassion,
素
one should
那
not
个地方
abide in
有一段
unconditioned. From there,
然后
it
最后
has
有灭众生苦
a
灭众生病
paragraph.
苦，就是那个地方有一段，就是所以
In fact, a few more
这个呢
stanzas in
这个是
between,
这个是
and
也是
around the
那个
medicine
中国
part,
是
it
翻译
has
的，但是中国老师
then
翻译的那
some
个
more
乾隆的这
paragraphs,
个大藏经
some
当中
more
是有这个
stanzas
的
added in
然后藏文
between.
当中也是有这么一
In
段
Tibetan,
还有
in
那个
Sanskrit, and
还
in
有那个
Xuanzang's
什么，就是
translation,
之
as
前
well
这个
as
翻译的那
Zhitian's
个那一段，你看
translation.
呢，就是也是啊，走了，记下来了吧？你们
Have you written down?
他们好吝
I
啬，
think they're quite stingy of showing you this
故意让你们看一下就让。
all of these stanzas. They just show you a glimpse and
开
then
玩笑
took it
啊
away.
发行的人本来很辛苦，在
The
没有依据赞叹，就是经常说
volunteers,
他们的话，
they're
那
already
到时
quite
候就变成一味
tired.
杜绝了。
And if I do not praise them, they'll probably no longer want
所以
to
这个啊
provide
我
their
是
service anymore,
我是
and
这
then
么
they'll
想
become
的
a
那个
pratika Buddhas,
就本来是我们
hiding
这
in their
次这
cocoons.
次的这个版本呢
Anyhow,
用的是
my
这个
point
大
was
正藏
that
里面
this
大
time we
正藏呢
used
就
the
是昨天也说
Taisho
过，就是
Tripitaka
它是大概
that
10几年的
was
一些
then
这个学者啊、专家，包括有一些
edited
佛教的
by
这个
scholars,
这个
Buddhist
很有这个
masters
威望的这些大本的一起
for
就变
over
成
a
那个
decade of time.
大正藏，就是在全世界来讲是比较
It is renowned
比较公认的。
and recognized worldwide. At the time, I thought it was quite authoritative. And throughout history, the Taisho Tripitaka is rather very famous, especially in Japan and internationally, I have to say.
然后因为这个大正藏
Taisho
的话呢
Tripitaka
以前的那个高丽的这个
is
大藏经
the
高丽的这个大藏经
compendium
作为这个
of,
地毯作为
or it is
最基础
based
的这个版
on
本
the
然后在这个上面的话呢，就是这个
Tripitaka Koreana, and then on top of that, they then added Kaiba's Tripitaka that is carved on wood blocks in Sichuan province, many wood blocks with the Dharma carved on it, as well as Chidan Tripitaka. Back in the 60s, the Taisho Tripitaka was then re-edited. But now when we look at this, I think Qianlong Tripitaka's translation or edition is probably more accurate, because according to Qianlong Emperor's Tripitaka, it includes the 17 pairs of stanzas. But it's quite interesting that Master Song Zhao then used Taisho Tripitaka's version rather. Master Song Zhao's version did not have the 17 pairs. That's rather long. Maybe it is because Qianlong Emperor's Tripitaka and Master Song Zhao's version are two different versions. And Taisho Tripitaka, when they pick their version, they use the version that Master Song Zhao used, which have less stanzas. I didn't have lot of time. It is really that due to the lack of time, I didn't look into it too carefully, but I have great interest in it if I were to have some more time to look into it. It seems that the Tibetan Tripitaka is more well, let's say, careful in terms of choosing different versions. Back in Qianlong Emperor's Qianlong dynasty, in Qing dynasty during Qianlong Emperor's time, Dampa Tsaran, he then took charge in building the Dharma text printing house. So that was in the 1700 and 1729, something like that. So I think it is better for you to study the Qianlong Emperor's Tripitaka, or it is better to pick the Vimalakirti Sutra based on Qianlong Tripitaka's version. Later, if I were to have another opportunity, I would teach it based on Qianlong Tripitaka's version. But of course, I'm already so aged, it is very difficult to say that if I were to have another chance to teach this wonderful sutra. But maybe next lifetime, we'll see. The translation is most of the translations and most of the versions, including the Sanskrit version, Tibetan version, Xuanzang's translation, as well as Zhiqian's version, they all have the 17 pairs that same as the Qianlong Emperor's Tripitaka. Tibetan Tripitaka, they used 20 to 30 years, 2 to 3 decades of time to then edited the 20 to 30 volumes of the Dharma text. That comes to 200 textbooks. What they did was really quite admirable. What they did was that they compared different editions, and then they put all the versions according to Durga's version. It is so and so. According to Lasa's version, it has one word wrong, but they kept that word, but then they kept a little note underneath. And according to Beijing's version, it is so and so. So I think this is really better way of working with the text. I was then looking into Agama Sutra, where it says where it has where then I noticed that there are some differences, so I put some notes. And I think keep those notes is quite important, because it could be very useful for the scholars in next generation to study it. It provides the resources for them to study. Otherwise, when people just delete and omit based on their habitual patterns or their concepts, I think this is really not good to change the Dharma text. Anyhow, according to the Tibetan version, the Durga's translation as well as the Qianlong Emperor's Tripitaka is very similar. I wanted to give the teaching based on that, which has 17 pairs of stanzas more, but I think we don't have enough time. Anyhow, I then give you this opportunity to study by yourself. In Qianlong Emperor's Tripitaka's version, it has 17 pairs, and Xuanzang's version has 14, in Tibetan's version has 16, but the content is very similar. Anyhow, my hope for you is you should then study in more depth, so that you'll be able to understand the complete meaning of the sutras. The next one, it says that this is then called, in the previous one, we've studied the do not exhaust the condition, do not abide in the unconditioned, do not exhaust the conditioned, and do not abide in the conditioned, the three aspects of it. And over here it says that all good sirs. Then Buddha said that a bodhisattva who cultivates this dharma does not either exist, does not either exhaust the conditioned nor abide in the unconditioned. This is quite timely, this teaching, because there are people who do not care about the conditioned. They only care about the ultimate teaching of emptiness. And there are people who don't care about the teachings of emptiness. They do not care about the unconditioned. They only care about the conditioned and the relative world. I myself, whenever I study this, I feel I've gained a lot through studying and teaching of this. There were practitioners who told me that I've gained so much through the studying of this sutra. I met a little child on the way who was lost. He said he wanted to go to the mandala. I said, no, it's the wrong way. You should go to the other way. And then I asked him, what are you doing here? He said that I'm here to travel. I asked him, what did you do yesterday? He said, I listened to a class by Kempo. How was the teaching? I asked him. He said, it's okay. And then I asked him, how does he look like? He said, it's okay. He's okay. So I was conversing with him all the way, and then eventually pointed the way. And then I met him on the way into the shrine hall. I asked him, do you recognize me? He did. He apparently did remember me, and he was a little bit embarrassed, I think. Anyhow, he said, I taught okay, and I was a little happy about that. Maybe he fully understood what it means of neither exhaust the conditioned nor abide in the unconditioned. Otherwise, he wouldn't say that it's okay. Anyhow, when those bodhisattvas heard the explanation of this dharma, they were all extremely happy, and they scattered a host of wonderful flowers of several colors and fragrance throughout the Trimegachilya cosm, making offering to the Buddha and his teaching and the bodhisattva, which are the three jewels of this world. They bowed their heads to the Buddha's feet and explained at this unprecedented teaching, saying that Shakyamuni Buddha is able to perform the skillful means of this excellent practice in this world. That's how they then praised the Shakyamuni Buddha. And this kind of action of Shakyamuni Buddha is so admirable. It is so unfathomable. Saying this, they suddenly disappeared and then returning to the other country, returned to their Pure Land of accumulation fragrance. So they went back to their own country after receiving the gift of Dharma, the Dharma of do not exhaust the conditioned and do not abide in the unconditioned. So for those of you wherever you live, when you listen to this teaching, you've already received the Dharma gift that is full of blessing and strength from Shakyamuni Buddha, from this pith instruction from Shakyamuni Buddha that is short in language yet profound in meaning, so that you will completely transform through your practice as well as your mind. So from here, I really hope that you would practice well. We'll stop here today.